There's a doctor in Chicago pulling $400,000 a year. He drives a leased BMW, lives in a house with a mortgage that makes even his accountant nervous, has roughly $12,000 in liquid savings, and last month he turned down a vacation because, and this is a direct quote, "Money is tight right now. $400,000 a year." Money is tight. This isn't rare. This is an epidemic hiding inside tax brackets nobody feels sorry for. A surgeon who can't retire at 60. A lawyer who needs every paycheck to land on time. A software engineer making $300K who is genuinely 3 missed paychecks away from a crisis. High income, little wealth. And almost nobody talks about why, because from the outside, these people look like they won. They didn't win. They just upgraded their financial prison to a nicer neighborhood. And the reason it happens isn't laziness. It isn't stupidity. It isn't even overspending. Not in the way you think. It's a set of invisible mechanisms that are specifically triggered by earning more money. Traps that don't exist at $50,000 a year. Traps that activate when the income gets big. This video is about those traps, and more importantly, how people escape them. The first mechanism has a clinical name, lifestyle inflation. But that name makes it sound like a choice. Like someone sat down and decided, "I think I'll inflate my lifestyle today." That's not how it works. Here's how it actually works. You earn $60,000. You live within it, mostly. You drive a used car. You watch what you spend. Frugality is just reality. You get promoted. Now you earn $110,000. And something subtle happens. Your reference group changes. Your new colleagues drive newer cars. Your new neighborhood has nicer restaurants. The people around you at this income level live a certain way. And the human brain, wired for social comparison long before we had language, starts recalibrating what normal looks like. The new car isn't a splurge. It's just what people at your level drive. The bigger apartment isn't excess. It's just appropriate for where you are in life. The private school for the kids isn't luxury. It's just what responsible parents in your zip code do. Every single upgrade feels justified, reasonable, even modest compared to what you could be spending. But here's what actually happened mathematically. Your income went up 80%. Your expenses went up 75%. Your actual wealth-building capacity barely moved. And now, you've locked in a cost structure that requires that income to sustain. You are not richer. You are more expensive to run. Studies consistently show that consumption rises almost in lockstep with income across every bracket. The average American spends roughly 90 cents of every additional dollar they earn. That's not a poor person problem. That pattern holds at $200,000, at $350,000, at $500,000. The income grows. The spending grows with it. The gap, the actual wealth-building gap, stays thin. Here's something that doesn't get said clearly enough. A high income is the most tax-inefficient way to build wealth. When you earn a salary, the IRS is your first and most aggressive bill collector. Before you see the money. Before you make a single decision, it's gone. A person earning $400,000 in salary in a high-tax state can lose a substantial portion of every additional dollar to federal and state income taxes, Social Security, and Medicare. Meanwhile, someone who owns assets, rental property, a business, investments, may benefit from tax structures that can significantly reduce their effective tax burden. Same economic gain, very different tax treatment. The high earner working a W-2 job is often playing the game on the most expensive difficulty setting available. And here's what makes it worse. They often don't know it because they're busy, because income feels like success, because nobody sits you down at the beginning of a high-earning career and says, "Congratulations, you are now in the bracket where earning more money alone is no longer enough." Building wealth requires changing how you generate and keep money, not just how much you make. A doctor spending 12 years training to earn $400,000 in salary may build less long-term wealth than a plumber who bought several rental properties in his 30s. Not because the doctor is less intelligent, because earned income and built wealth are two completely different games, and high earners almost always play only one of them. There's a phrase in corporate culture, golden handcuffs. Usually, it refers to vesting schedules and stock options, compensation designed to keep you from leaving, but there's a more insidious version nobody names. It's the moment your lifestyle requires your income. When your mortgage, your car leases, your private school tuition, your dining habits, your social commitments, when all of it adds up to a number that demands your exact current paycheck to survive, you are no longer free. You cannot take a risk. You cannot start a business. You cannot take a lower-paying job that might lead somewhere better. You cannot negotiate hard with your employer because you need this job too visibly, and everyone in the room knows it. You have purchased, with your own money, a cage. And the cage is comfortable. That's what makes it a cage, and not obviously a disaster. The high earner who looks wealthy but has no meaningful savings has no leverage. Not financial leverage. Life leverage. The ability to say no. The ability to walk away. The ability to make a decision based on what's right rather than what pays. Financial advisors call it runway. How long you can sustain your life without income if everything stopped tomorrow. Most high earners have less runway than a barista with a savings habit, because the barista might have 3 months of expenses saved, and 3 months of expenses at $3,500 a month is $10,500. 3 months of expenses at $18,000 a month, the lifestyle our 400K doctor built, is $54,000, which many don't have. Same vulnerability, much higher stakes, much less visible from the outside. Let's say something uncomfortable. A significant portion of high-income spending is not about enjoyment. It's about signaling. The watch that costs $18,000 is not 18 times more functional than a $1,000 watch. The car that costs $120,000 is not 3 times more useful than a $40,000 car. The business class seat is not the reason the meeting went well. These purchases exist to communicate something to other people. I have arrived. I belong here. I am the kind of person who has this. And at high income levels, that pressure is enormous because the peer group has enormous things to signal back at you. Psychologists have a term for it. Conspicuous consumption. Economist Thorstein Veblen identified it in 1899. More than a century later, it is more powerful, more marketed, and more socially reinforced than ever. The luxury industry does not sell products. It sells identity. It sells membership. It sells the feeling of having crossed a threshold. And high earners are the target market because they have just enough money to buy the signals and just enough social anxiety to feel like they need to. The result? Billions of dollars flowing out of wealth building and into depreciating assets and experiences designed to impress people who are also busy spending money to impress other people. It is, if you step back far enough, almost comedic. Almost, here's a number that reframes everything. There is a massive gap between people who earn well and people who own well. The people at the very top of the wealth distribution are not, for the most part, the highest salaried employees. They are people who own things, businesses, real estate, equity, assets that generate returns while they sleep, that often receive favorable tax treatment, and that compound over decades without requiring their time. The orthopedic surgeon earning $600,000 in salary is not in the same financial universe as the person who owns the hospital. And the divide isn't talent. It isn't even work ethic. It's the type of economic activity. Salary, trade time for money. Stop working, money stops. Assets, money works. Time becomes optional. Every year, a high earner spends only earning, not building ownership of anything, is a year of compounding they never get back. The window to build wealth at high income is not infinite. Careers have ceilings, salaries plateau, markets change, industries get disrupted. The people who escape the high earner trap are not the ones who earned more. They're the ones who converted income into ownership while the income was there. So what does getting out actually look like? Not theoretically, practically. First, automate the gap before lifestyle fills it. The only reliable defense against lifestyle inflation is removing the choice entirely. Every raise, every bonus, every windfall. A predetermined percentage goes directly into investment accounts, retirement accounts, or asset purchases before it touches a checking account. You cannot spend what you never see. This is not a discipline strategy. It's an architecture strategy. Build the system so the decision is already made. Second, get obsessively clear on your actual number. Most high earners have no idea what they actually spend each month. Not roughly, precisely, not because they're irresponsible, because the numbers feel uncomfortable to face. Run the real number, the mortgage, the leases, the subscriptions, the dining, the private school tuition, the travel. Add it all up, honestly. That number is your cage size. You need to see it clearly before you can shrink it intentionally. Third, separate identity from spending. This is the hard one, because it requires asking, which of these purchases do I actually enjoy, and which ones am I making for an audience? Not all status spending is irrational, but a meaningful percentage of it, for most high earners, is automatic, unconscious. Social reflex, not genuine preference. The people who build real wealth at high incomes are almost always willing to look less wealthy than they are. They drive the average car. They live in the adequate house. They wear the normal watch, not as punishment, as a deliberate trade, current appearance for future freedom. Fourth, start building ownership of something, a rental property, index funds held consistently for decades, a stake in a business. Anything that generates a return independent of your personal labor. The specifics matter less than the principle. Some portion of your income must be converted into something that works without you, because the version of retirement many high earners are heading toward, stopping a high-paying job with few assets and a lifestyle that requires $18,000 a month, is not retirement. It's a financial cliff. Here's the uncomfortable truth underneath all of this. High income is an opportunity. It is not wealth. It is the raw material wealth is made from, but only if you do something specific with it. Most people don't. Not because they're foolish, because nobody tells them the game changes when the income gets big, because lifestyle inflation is invisible while it's happening, because status spending is packaged as success. Because earned income feels like the destination when it's actually just a tool. The doctor in Chicago isn't struggling because he doesn't earn enough. He's struggling because he's running on a treadmill that gets faster every year and mistaking the speed for progress. The exit isn't earning more. The exit is building something that doesn't need you to keep running. That gap between what you earn and what you keep and compound is the only number in your financial life that truly determines your future. Everything else is just a bigger treadmill.